There's lots of things. Overall, I would say. First, we don't. Some of my.
That's what they come to take care of your real estate. There's no. I was walking, totally ruined my day too, because I was just walking by. It's like a busy day for me, and I walked by and I was like.
What can I do for you? I have to open my zip file.
Okay.
What is, what do I? I'll just type it in. I just type it in.
Okay. Feel free to.
So what, oh, cause so I'm on there already.
You're on there. Nobody else is on there. So you have a moment.
Okay.
But this will be your microphone, and I'm gonna bring it. Are you gonna sit? I assume.
Yes.
Okay. Is that a chair, comfortable chair? You want a different one?
No, it's fine.
Okay. I'm gonna give you that, and I'll put it even like this, so it's like right there for you. Whoop. There you go. Gonna pick up on you, no problem. Just get this a little bit more towards you, just so they can see a little bit better.
Oh, good, that was it.
There we go. So they'll be able to see you, but predominantly they're gonna see your screen. They're only gonna see you as a tiny little box. This is your mic. It'll pick up on you just fine because it's right in front of you. They are speaking to you. If they do speak to you, that will be on the overhead in the ceiling.
Okay,
But it's
okay.
up pretty high, so you should be able to hear them.
Okay,
If not, I think it's actually up to 100, but if not, oh, nope, you can turn this right here. Just do your volume like you normally do.
okay, okay.
If you can't hear.
Yep.
it. But other than that, you are ready to go.
So this is what they're seeing now,
Yes,
right?
they,
Okay.
they do see you in the tiny little box, but they see the rest of this.
Okay,
as the
oh,
big
yeah,
screen.
yeah, yeah, okay.
So you'll be set there, got a few minutes.
Yes, thank God. Yeah, I was glad I just was worried about getting onto that.
Well, you're all set. Sorry, I'm trying to.
Let's see, maybe I'll bring up.
That's one. They went through a series of new,
It wasn't really a Magellan for it.
got some information. They had to make choices, right? So it wasn't the real Magellan. So they, since then, they've never been able to, which is back to
23,
the broader.
but then probably like what? Of the 23, we'll say like 20 here in person, maybe.
In this class?
Ignite.
Oh,
Connie asked
Oh,
me
I don't
because she
know.
was gonna print something for her students. and she was like,
okay.
Sorry, I was like,
Ooh,
while I
don't
was in here.
know, yeah.
And that's the hard thing is they can do either. So I'm just gonna probably say like, there's 23 students total, probably a handful usually go to Zoom,
Yeah,
but here, I would.
it
print-
has been
But
better.
I'll say, I'd say print maybe 20 copies. I don't think you'll have.
Yeah.
And that way, worst comes to worst, you have extra, but so
Right.
you have one student on now.
Okay. Am I on? Am I
Yeah, you're-
speaking?
You are speaking. I think they can hear you. Yeah, they can hear you. You're good.
Hi, Cindy.
We can hear you.
All right, so you should.
I'll get
all
started
set.
in a little bit. I'm gonna wait for a couple of other people to get on, hopefully.
No problem.
You should be
Okay.
all set.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you need anything, you know where to find me.
Okay, I didn't bring my phone in here.
Do you want me to bring your phone?
I
can go get it
should
for you.
probably. I can
I'll go
get
get it. No, I'll go get it for you.
All right, thanks.
You need help?
No, just my phone.
Well, I've been in there everything. And he's gonna look at it real quick and get back to me with a buyer. That's what he's gonna do.
And my number is 704-621. Maybe you'll register. You have questions about commercial? Or anything, voice medical balance?
So I'd say one thing, I probably still do this, writing handwritten notes to.
I wrote, I think I've sent out 400 or 500.
Hi, how are you? Yes.
Sit anywhere?
Sit anywhere. Yep.
There you
Thank
go.
you, ma'am.
It's so funny. As soon as I picked it up, it buzzed.
Did it really?
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but it was like a little one. I was like, "Ooh."
Oh, that's weird.
I'm a sign fire client.
Are you, my question for you is, I'm sure it's Eric, so he's very respectful. So I'm sure that when he is ready to filtrate out and not like they're being super noisy either,
Yeah.
then they'll leave. And based on how far they are from this mic, I don't think it's gonna be super strong, but I don't think they'll be really even able to hear
Okay.
any of it. So when you start to begin, I'm sure that'll also help. Would you rather I go?
I wonder if I should say so.
I can tap. Tap, tap.
Okay, maybe, because there's a couple people coming in here.
Yeah.
Hi.
You're good, you're still early.
You about to kick me out?
Get out necessarily.
I do have a class. Yeah.
I'll gather my stuff.
Do you need any help with
No,
anything?
I'm good.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
The least I can do is at least help pack up.
Well, I'm very.
2 more
Yeah,
minutes,
we
I'll
can
start.
stack books. That'd be great.
Yes, I can do that.
That'll be great.
Couple clients I got.
All right. I mean,
But
there you go.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Smallest to largest for you.
Awesome.
So that way I know they're gonna fit in well.
They will.
Wait, this is a little bit bigger. Since I have an extra section.
Boom, now they're small, so large. All right, sir. Thank you for all that you do. I appreciate you.
Love it. Anybody have any credit cards you want to cut up? We got some too.
I know, I love it.
So my clients got in there.
I think it's a little bit for the effect, but also they work better.
I was gonna say, but are they left-handed or?
They are.
Overall, it's a pretty terrible residential work.
That's the hardest time with scissors. I flip them upside down and I still have to cut them.
Oh, yeah.
Ambidextrous.
I hate when somebody asks you.
I'm gonna see if they,
Like, I can't stress how much.
Yes.
I'm selling myself.
oh, you are, okay.
So, and I've
I
got.
love. I love learning something that's nothing.
I'll email it to you.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I'm officially retired.
Are you?
I have. I'm just doing the rules.
Yeah, yeah.
It was enough.
I know.
What a crazy journey.
Yeah,
Very blessed.
you did good. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing right now,
Is it?
is a referral.
Yes, I've got Seymour,
Ah, yeah.
Lois Pike. So I've got
Oh,
6
yeah.
agents yet, though. I've got
Yes.
agents that.
Yeah. Now Lois Pike doesn't work this office anymore.
She didn't get on. She was
I don't know where she went, but she's not, she left KW Bell.
Oh, well, I know she was gonna try to get it over there.
Yeah, yeah.
I did not. Did not tell me.
But what I do is I always.
Do I need to kick back?
I'm gonna go say something. I'll just say something.
So I kind of tell the steps that you need to take. to be able to, they- Oh, you're fine.
She's kicking us out back
That way. No, you're.
Thank
you. Oh, you're welcome.
All right, so we have a couple of people online as well as here. So I'm Carla. Are you staying for the class? Oh,
Yes.
I don't think I need it. Thanks. Good. Okay, so I'm Carla and I do the compliance here. So I've not done a forms class yet. So this is the first time.
She's your friend.
But we're gonna go over, all of you have your South Carolina license?
Well, I
Oh,
just,
you don't,
I have to retake the test. I missed it by 7 points.
okay,
Yeah,
you'll
no.
get it. You'll get it. Yeah. Yeah. So, we were just gonna go over the South Carolina buyers forms today, okay? So I will bring them up. I have them all here in zip forms, which is where you can find them. If they're not in DocuSign, they should all be in DocuSign. You have to put your NERDS number in DocuSign. Did you know all that? No,
Oh,
okay. Make sure, and that's for North and South Carolina forms now. So make sure you get that in there. But we'll simply just go through the forms and, if you guys have any questions along the way, let me know.
You said some fish forms, right?
Well, this is where, yeah, I can
Oh.
find all of them if they're not in the templates in DocuSign, okay? So obviously, the first thing you want to do is do the South Carolina disclosure of real estate brokerage relationships, which is a really long title for working with real estate agents. It's the same thing. Obviously, we don't do transaction brokerage here, but you want to obviously explain to your clients how the brokerage works, being single agent, dual, and designated dual agent. Okay. You need to do, you guys know the difference between dual and designated dual agent? Basically, okay. So I won't go over that then. And make sure that they sign and date. I always look for dates on mine because it's really important. It's a legal document, so you have to have it signed, okay?
Silly question, maybe, if it's a husband and wife, do they sign the same form? Or do
Yes.
they have to sign different forms? How does that work?
No, they can all sign the same form, even if there's, 4 buyers, then they can all sign that form. They don't need a separate form,
I do have a quick question.
okay?
On the test, I was a little confused because I know they're a little different from North Carolina. On
Yeah.
the test, it says something about consumers and clients. And in North Carolina, we consider a client if you have an agency agreement with them.
Right,
And I think they're the complete opposite.
yeah.
They
A-
consider a consumer.
Yeah, I think the consumer has to do with the transaction brokerage.
Okay.
So that's the big difference in South Carolina is the transaction brokerage. So once you get kind of familiar with that, and I'm not really familiar with it anymore. I did know it for the test, and then it's like, we don't use it here, so,
Right, transaction brokerage.
Yeah. yes. Yeah. Is that how you understand it? Anybody else? Okay. Okay, so simple form. We go back. Oops, I didn't mean to get out of it. Sorry. Oh, good. So, and any other questions with the real estate brokerage disclosures? So that you have to do that right away. You can't, don't wait until you have the contract or the agreement, because that's what the commission looks at. Make sure you've disclosed all that before the agreement is written.
I have a quick question.
Okay,
If you have a buyer who you initially signed your agreement with in North Carolina, and then you want to show them property in South Carolina, you have to get this filled out before?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
yes, yes.
Thank you.
And then you would have to have a South Carolina buyer agency agreement,
Okay,
which is what we're going to next.
thanks.
Okay. And here it is. So obviously you need this buyer agreement with you before you can put an offer to purchase in. Okay, so this is the exclusive right to buyers agency agreement. It's form number 130. And because the other one, it says, I think it says exactly the same thing, exclusive right to buyer agency contract, but it's form number 135. And 135, you don't want to use because it's really not, they have a way to get out. I think it's, if they find a property on their own, they don't have to pay you. So you definitely want to use the form number 130 on this one, okay? And again, the contract is between your client and your full legal client's name would go here. And then the broker in charge of who? It would be us, don't put your name, don't put your team's name. You put Keller Williams Ballantyne. Okay? So nothing else there but Keller Williams Ballantyne.
Agreement is with the client and the brokerage.
And the firm, yes.
firm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not between you and the client.
Right, okay,
Okay? We're just representing the firm.
right.
And then, of course, you want to do what type of property are they looking for? Check that. And all this other stuff, if you have that information, that's good. The general description is, residential, commercial, land, whatever. And then if you have this, you can type all of that in. As much information as you can put on there just to, I guess, cover yourself because I don't know, this could probably come back and bite you if they said, oh, you told me, you would show me these properties. Well, this was proof that this is the amount that you agreed upon. Okay. Anyway, brokers' duties, obviously, we're the fiduciary, so we want to, we're going to be honest with them, just like you're going to explain brokerage with them. You want to make sure that you explain to them that you're going to work just with them and put their interest at number one for you. Okay. And then that's basically what that says. And then number 4 is the buyer's duties. Work exclusively with the broker. So it won't say that in form number 135. Okay. And then assist the broker. This is about finding property, and this happens a lot now. I know I even noticed with my buyers a couple years ago that they find the property. Basically, it used to be us finding all the properties for them, but now they're finding all the properties. So, and then they'll give that information to you, and you go ahead and take it from there. So this is, you're going to provide the broker, your buyer is going to provide us with the general nature, location, and requirements, and that should be written up here. Okay. Obviously, the buyer, now in South Carolina, they allow for 4 buyers. Okay, so that's why there's so many of them. But also you have to initial as well, each page. So, okay. Compensation of firm on page 2. You want to check, it's brokerage fee, okay? So it's option 2 is usually the one that we fill out, okay? The broker shall obtain payment of the brokerage fee out of the transaction, shall be paid by the cooperating broker as stated in the MLS. You're welcome. Okay. Or as agreed to for sale by owner. And that we would use a different form. And I think I have that one later on. Okay. So this is how it's usually done, and it's usually done now. So if you later on, it might change because it's getting to be less and less that the sellers are paying buyers, agents. Okay. So you want to make sure most of it is option 2 on A. Okay. Option 1 is the buyer shall pay the brokerage. So it's up to you, but this option 2 is usually the one. B, you wouldn't want a retainer fee. So we wouldn't check B. and don't initial anything, okay?
You said we will want a retainer fee?
No,
Oh,
you don't,
won't?
yeah.
Okay.
And I don't even think that it's allowed in this office, so we'd have to check with Sabra or Tasha. So anyway, that's the fee. So we want to be paid, the usual is being paid by the seller's agent, okay? And that would be 5A option 2. Okay. Number 6 is the term of agency. Make sure that's filled in and make sure you have a valid begin date and a valid end date. I'm getting a lot of people that are putting, let's say March 15th, 2022 to March 15th, 2021, or some, they forget that it's 2022. So
Okay.
yeah, you've got to make sure the dates are correct. So that's okay. All right. And then number 7, by the way, the term of agency, it needs to be there. You have to have a beginning and an end date in any agreement, okay? So make sure that's included. The consent to disclose dual agency, again, and designated dual agency. You want to have them initial, the first one, that they have received the explanation in that agency relationship form, and by you telling them, so that you want to have them check that, or not check, but initial that, that they've received that explanation. And then there's 4 places where they can initial, but now hopefully you'll read them and explain it to them that the first one is they will give you permission to act as a dual agent. The second line is that they won't give you permission. Wait a minute. Okay, the first one is will not be considered. Okay, and then the second one that you will be considered as long as you would have a dual agency agreement, which we'll get into later on. And then the third one is a designated agent will not be considered. So they can't initial each box. I get that a lot. Each box is initial. It's like, well, they're contradictory statements, so only do one. If they only want to say, oh, I only want designated agent, well, they have to allow dual agency for them to allow designated dual agency, okay? So usually it's the second and fourth one there that should be initial. And I always explain to them that the office has over 500 agents in it. So there's a good chance that we'll have a property that's listed with this firm.
Right.
Okay, so that's why we want them to allow that. Okay, any questions on that one? Again, they initial and you initial the page. And then this is number 8 is that there's always another buyer that could be going after the house that they want. Okay. And you're going to keep their information confidential. Okay. So this number 9 is just the indemnification of a broker. And that means that you've signed the agreement and let me see what this says, I'm sorry. So if they sign the agreement with you, they can't be with another broker, or you would get compensation. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
you're
if
saying,
you're,
like, if we have an agreement with
yeah,
you, and then they go tomorrow and sign with someone else, then we can still get.
well, no, not if they sign with someone else, because if they sign with someone else, then yours is null and void.
Mhm.
But if they don't sign with someone else and they go and buy a property, then that is, it's your right to get the compensation, okay? So that's what that means. The disclosure of the buyer's identity and confidentiality is just that you want to have them check one of these if they do or do not give you permission to disclose your name. Okay, their name, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And then because I don't know of anybody who wants to really disclose their name or cares if it's disclosed for that matter, because in case the seller knows them or something. So that's what that is. Okay, so the buyer agrees and the limited liability, buyer agrees broker provided buyer with benefits, services, assistance, and value in bringing about this contract. Okay, so that's just saying that, you know, you're going to act in a professional manner and it's not that you're responsible for all the inspectors and the other service providers, contractors. Okay. So there's no liability on your part for the doings of them.
Okay.
Okay. And of course, the non-discrimination clause is in there. That's part of the fair housing laws, of course. That's kind of self-explanatory. Like I said, if you have any questions along the way, just let me know. You can interrupt me. The professional counsel, they'll seek professional advice for things that we don't have the control over. Okay. Such as like structure. We can't tell them what the house will appraise for. We can't tell them, you know, what the structure of the foundation is and all that. So that's what they need. That's the professionals they need to call. 14, mediation clause. Again, it's we have the right to get to resolve a dispute with a mediator. And hopefully it won't go to that. And then the mediation clause, it says will survive for a period of 120 days after the date of closing. So if something happens major, and I'm not exactly sure what, it could be after 120 days that they can still try to resolve the dispute. And that's for like I said, for misrepresentation and negligence. Number 15 is the sex offender and criminal information. You know, we can't say anything, but we can direct them to the proper website, the sex offender registry, and that we can't tell them anything like that. And then the entire binding agreement, all terms and conditions set forth. It can be changed only by subsequently written instrument. So that once this is signed, it's sealed, you know, basically. There are forms to change it. Okay. Contingencies means that, you know, it's contingent upon not necessarily the sale of their home, but on, you know, financing and all that. Okay. So that means this agreement is contingent upon whatever. Yeah. 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 Okay. And then this is the fax and other electronic means. You know, if the once the once this agreement is sent to the buyer, then with your signature, or once he sends it back to you, then it's a binding agreement. Not when we receive it, but when we send it, right? Okay. And again, on here, you want them to sign and date, and in DocuSign, there's a way to have it both go on there so they don't have to click date, okay? And then make sure you include their email, phone number, and the address, which is down here. Their current mailing address. All three of those have to be on there, okay? And again, your the company name, Keller Williams Ballantyne, and your name or your signature and date. Okay? Any questions on the buyer agency agreement? No? No, no one online. Okay. All right, with every South Carolina form, you need to have the wire fraud warning. In North Carolina, it is already included in the agency agreement, whether listing or buyers, but here you need to have it. In South Carolina, you need this form.
This has to be added in
Every buyer or every South Carolina listing and buyers. Yeah.
Was it wire fraud what?
Warning. Yeah. And have them sign and date. And for some reason, they have to initial it, but just initial it. Yeah.
Must be included in all, contracts.
All contracts. Yeah. That's form number 610. That's pretty self-explanatory. All right, now you have the buyer agency agreement signed. You're out looking for homes and you found a home. You want to put an offer in. Here's your residential offer. Okay, so it's an agreement / contract to buy and sell real estate. So you need your buyer's names up here. This is a legally a binding agreement between or entered into by the buyers and sellers' names. And you can get that information on the MLS form that that you need. Okay. You know how to get it from the MLS form? Okay.
Which somehow the.
Sellers' names.
Oh, the seller.
Yeah, you want their legal names and it says it in the property details
Okay.
and the MLS.
Okay.
Now these are all entered into by the party is defined as party, both the buyer and seller. Brokers are licensed. So these are all explaining what these terms mean. So the last time, closing attorney, it has a line that you can put the closing attorney name. And I've had a couple that kind of came back when I did some South Carolina ones. They said, please put that attorney name there. It's like, well, and I got this from Sabra. That's only explaining. That really doesn't need to be there because it's going to be on the next page. But if they have a line for it, if you have the closing attorney, then you might want to put it there. But these are just explanations of what these little phrases or words mean. Okay. You can leave it blank. It's no big deal. And then obviously if your buyer or seller is a South Carolina real estate licensee, then make sure you check that. And then always get them to initial for the buyers, this is, you're gonna have them initial this. And this is that they acknowledge the receipt of the South Carolina brokerage relationships form. And is receiving a client. Okay, they're acting as a client. Okay? And if you can, hopefully the seller will initial that too. And if not, ask them to, send it back and say, we need your seller's initials here. Okay? You put your purchase price in here, whatever they want. It's payable by via finance or a combination of finance and cash or just cash. Okay, so check the appropriate one. Usually if it's just cash, they need a proof of funds letter. Okay. So attach that, hopefully. And, you can say it's attached or not attached, and it will, or to be delivered before, hopefully within a couple days. Okay. And then the next paragraph or the next sentence is it's contingent upon the sale and closing of a buyer's property. And hopefully, and then you attach that contract or that offer to purchase. Okay. All right. The property, you're going to make sure everything is correct in the property. You want the property address, the lot. The lot and block number. So you want the legal description as well as the property address. Okay. And then don't forget this little sentence down here. A lot of times this is missed. Parties agree that no personal property will transfer except as described below. So if they want the refrigerator or the, whatever, the washer dryer, that will go down here. I guess now that the attorneys don't want to see like the swing set or stuff like that. So don't bother putting that in there. Just the appliances, that. Okay. And again, they initial each page, both buyers or however many buyers there are. Okay. And okay, the closing date will be no later than 5 p.m. on, pick a date, okay? Make sure that's in there. And then this one is the deed. What will the deed be made out to? And you put down how they want the deed to be made out. If they say, I don't know, then say as at the direction of the attorney, okay? Because the attorney will direct them to do that. Okay. Now, earnest money, this is the money that they're going to put down on the house. So whatever it is, you want to put the amount, and then it'll say the amount again either accompanies this offer. So if you don't have it right away, that will be 0. Accompanies this offer, and then the amount left over, let's say they had to get funds from somewhere else. Then the remainder or all of it will be paid by 6 p.m. on whatever date you choose. Okay. It shouldn't be more than, 5 days, I wouldn't think. Okay. And it would be in the form of a check, cash, or other like a wire. Okay. And then that amount will be credited to the buyer at closing. And then this line here is for the escrow. This is like the page 1, okay? In the closing attorney, this is what this is.
Yes, there's a
Escrow.
question on the test saying something about, which really confused me because I think North Carolina is different concerning the EMD.
Hi,
This isn't the right class.
I'm in forms. forms class?
No, we were gonna meet Jules. thought it was gonna be in here.
Oh, no, her office is right over next to Lynn's. That's where you would meet her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
She doing this Zoom session? Is today
Not today.
She
No,
doing-
this is
okay.
just a private meeting.
Yeah, so, yeah, so the question was something about the earnest money. It was something about how, I think ours is paid differently. It goes to does their earnest money go to the closing attorney?
It could be either, it's, the escrow agent could be either the firm, we don't hold the earnest money. So it could be, you know, if it's Allen Tate or something, then if they hold the earnest money, you could send it to them. Otherwise, it's the closing attorney.
Okay, now, does the transaction coordinator have anything? Because I think that was part of the question. Transaction coordinator wouldn't have the earnest money either, right? They only do the transaction.
Right,
Okay.
yeah. All right, and then obviously you want to get a receipt of that. There's no formal receipt of acknowledgement of receipt on this form. So just have the attorney write it up that they've received the earnest money.
And then another question, the money, so like if the transaction closes, the earnest money is not to be released until after it's reported, right?
There is no earnest, I mean, the earnest money will be part of the purchase price. So there's
Okay.
no, you don't release it.
Oh,
It
okay,
doesn't get released. It just
Okay.
gets,
that's the due diligence, right? I'm confused.
no, well,
They don't have it yet here.
and they don't have it, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, no due diligence there.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. But it's still only at closing or at termination. You still don't pay it up front. You pay it at
It's
termination.
only if they decide to terminate.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah. That's how I understood it. It might be wrong, but I that's how I understood it. So this is going to be so you have to put the closing. If there's nothing in there, I'll return it because you need to have that in there.
Mhm.
Okay. Even if it changes. So if you don't know who the closing attorney is, say, well, you know, we've got a couple, you know, would you consider, you know, McNaught and Clements is what I use a lot. So, you know, put them in there. If it changes, there's a form to change it. So. Especially if it's immediately, because then you need that attorney to be able to deposit that earnest money right away.
Right.
Okay, this bold paragraph here, you agree that under all circumstances, including default, escrow agent will not disperse the earnest money to either party until both parties have executed an agreement authorizing that disbursement.
Okay.
And
That's it right
there's
there.
two forms, yeah. Or until a court of competent jurisdiction has directed a disbursement. Earnest money will not be dispersed until determined to be good funds. Okay, so a lot of times if, you know, that's where Sabra comes into play a lot because she has to dispute the earnest money and what's going on. So, so you got to make sure that you have here in this blank space should be about $90, at least $90. I think it could be up to a little more now. This was a couple years ago that she wants that in there. So that will pay for court fees.
Oh,
Okay, so otherwise the firm eats that.
Oh, so I would actually put like 150.
Yeah, you can put whatever you want in there, but make it at least $90.
Gotcha.
Okay, so make sure that's in there. I return documents for that as well
Okay.
because Sabre wants that in there. Okay, so make sure that's in there. Transaction costs, that's just the cost that the buyer has to pay
Right.
at closing. You can do that through Matrix has kind of determined their closing costs. And then all costs will be, I don't, this means that the seller would pay the cost. If no box is checked, the costs will be added to the seller's transaction costs. Okay? So that's usually stuff that the seller would have to pay for. Transfer fees, stuff like that. Okay? Like the HOA transfer fees and that.
Now, you said that we can actually pull this up and get a copy of this.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And that's what
definitely.
you were saying, it was on zip forms.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. And if you're a member of the MLS, you have access to zip forms
Yes.
for free. Yeah.
Okay.
And then this next paragraph is what they're going to pay at closing, what you want the seller to pay, if anything. If nothing, write 0.
No,
Okay,
but that has nothing to do with that commission though, right?
That's like if they're paying their closing costs.
right. This has
Oh.
nothing to do with
Oh,
commission.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, this is if the seller's contributing to closing costs now.
Okay.
And allowable costs, because some of the, like FHA, it says there, limits how much they can
Yeah.
contribute.
Right.
Okay. So unless it says, unless otherwise agreed upon in writing, the buyer will pay buyer's transaction costs and seller will pay seller transaction costs. Okay, so if you want that changed, make sure it's written. And then this is about financing. This is what you have to disclose to the seller. It's contingent upon financing or is not, meaning that would be a cash deal if it's not. And then you want to make sure you tell them the terms, okay? 15, 30 year, and they'll obtain financing by a certain date. Make sure they know that. And
Particular date.
no, it's just before you got to know when you're going to apply for the loan. Hopefully this is already done. You know, usually you want to get them pre-approved and all that. So, you know, that's pretty much, it should be almost already done. If not, then you'll have to have dates. Okay. Final loan approval occurs when the lender funds loans. If the buyer changes their lender, then you have to notify the seller in writing within a couple, usually, you know, it's 3 days. Okay. So always tell them if something changes, even the escrow agent or like that, or the closing attorney. Okay, and then this is where you're going to put your lender's information. And notice how it says in the paragraph, it may change. So, you know, anything is changeable. Any questions on that? No. Okay. Number 8 is repairs. And again, this is going to change in a little bit. I think it's all going now to due diligence. So the repair procedure, right? I don't think the repair procedure either is going to be on there. And as is not going to be on there. So the repairs right now, if you have a contract, you can either do a repair procedure, due diligence, or as is. Just pick one of them. So this is just a date. All repair procedure inspections and requests, that's the due diligence request, will be delivered to the seller by 6 p.m. on a certain date. Okay. And then, so this is after your inspection. You're going to ask them to repair whatever, you know, so you want to put that date after, you know, a couple weeks. So you have time to get the inspections done and the reports back. Okay. And then no later than 6 p.m. on another date, the seller shall deliver notice agreeing or not agreeing to make repairs. So obviously this date will be a week, maybe, or a couple days after this date. Usually, like I give, so in North Carolina, I give like a 2 or 3 week due diligence. So you can put that as 2 or 3 weeks out. So it gives time. And I'm not sure how busy the inspectors are now. I'm sure they're quite busy with all the, I know, yep. So that's what that is. And then I would typically give them a week. Okay.
It's so different. I'm from Massachusetts, and so we had 10 days for inspection if it had like 8, 7 days, it didn't have.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
And then you had 21 days to do your finance contingency, so these are all
Wow.
different.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I
it
hear
really
that a
is.
lot.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
from North, but I wasn't in real estate at that time.
So paid requests do not include the following items: home maintenance, flooring, fogged windows, which is one that's so common, grandfathered code issues, landscaping, preventive maintenance, cosmetic changes, home improvement, and energy efficiency. So basically, it's the HVAC, it's the main things, you know, the plumbing is bad, you know, stuff like that. So these things you really, I've
Like HVAC, plumbing,
yeah,
when HVAC is covered.
water heater, yeah,
Yeah,
electrical,
gotcha.
Yeah.
The roof.
And the roof,
that's-
yeah,
That's one
yeah.
they always have.
yeah. So these seller paid requests do not include those items. And so, the buyer, if the seller does not respond by this date, then the buyer has 2 calendar days. So calendar days means the weekend as well, to either negotiate a new amended contract for the payment of these repairs, like a cost reduction, a price reduction. They can, that's one, they can accept the property like it is. So it would be an as-is condition, or as a present condition. They can negotiate or they can terminate. Okay, within 2 calendar days though. If they don't respond within 2 calendar days of that, then the deal is still valid. Yeah. Okay, is everybody okay with that? Okay, the due diligence period, again, now this is what it's going to be all the time. Shall expire at 6 p.m. Again, I give it like 2 to 3 weeks. And any extension of this date, if you couldn't get the inspector out there soon enough, then you'd have to extend it in writing. And then again, they do all their prudent buyer inspections, roof inspections, whatever, all that. And then this here is the termination during the due diligence period. May unilaterally terminate the contract only by delivering to the seller both notices of termination and a fee of whatever. You can say 0. You don't have to give a fee if you don't want to. But if you're going to use due diligence, you probably want to give a little bit of a fee. And again, that fee would be paid, I guess, when it terminates. That's the due diligence fee. I should say, if it goes through, then you don't pay that fee. Okay. That's how I understood it, how it's going to be.
Oh, okay, so if they pay it, they only pay it if the contract is not valid.
Well, they only pay this, they will only pay that due diligence fee now if they terminate.
If the client, if the buyer.
If the buyer terminates, Yeah,
It's essentially paying them for taking it off the market.
Taking them off the market.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay.
okay.
Mhm.
If it says $1,000 in there and it goes through, then that's null and void,
Gotcha.
okay? All right. And then the last one here is as is. And obviously, you still have the right to do your inspections, but you don't have the right to ask for anything. Any repairs. And then you still have to put the date that you're gonna get the inspection by,
So the purpose of you doing the inspection would be mainly just to know what's wrong.
for your
For your
own,
own knowledge.
yeah. And you still have the right to terminate if it is an as is, yeah.
During the due diligence period.
Well, there is no due diligence period
doing
as
the-
is, yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, so they don't get no inspection period? Like, no, they do.
They do, it's right, it's, this is the date,
Whatever they agreed upon.
and they can still terminate. You
Okay.
could terminate for
But
any or
it's
no reason.
basically whatever they agree upon, the date.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So then you want to put that the seller will grant permission to connect the unit utilities. Hopefully they're already connected so that they can do their inspections. And then remember this line that the buyer will hold harmless and then I can't say that word, indemnify, pay damages and attorney fees to seller and brokers for all claims, injuries, and damages arising out of the exercise of these inspection rights. Okay, so hopefully the inspector won't damage anything and keep it clean, okay? Appraised value, a lot of them now are doing this. They're not contingent upon the appraised value, but that's scary. Yeah,
It's our way back into that.
yeah, yeah. So, I advise to do the appraised value just because your client would have to come up with the difference between the appraised value and the purchase price. And if they're not prepared to do that, then
Yeah,
then you would have to,
that would be a mess.
it would be a mess,
Yeah.
okay? So, the wood infestation report, again, you want to get a termite inspection. It's not or is not contingent upon. And then usually it's the buyer that's gonna do that. I don't know of any sellers that actually pay for these inspections,
Mm.
okay? So make sure that you check the right boxes, okay? And that the report is dated no later than, whatever, 3 calendar days maybe, prior to the closing. Again, if the wood infestation report reveals the presence of termites, the seller needs to fix it. If the seller does not make the repairs, the buyer has that option to accept the property in that condition, negotiate the seller for the payment of repairs and treatment, or terminate the contract. Okay?
That is considered a material fact.
Yeah. Survey, obviously, you encourage your buyers to get a survey on the property and to examine it, make sure the title's good. And that usually is the attorney does that. Make sure they're out of a flood zone and all that, and you can check that. Okay. And obviously the right of survivor, okay, is nature effect. Let's see, it's performed after closing. It was prior to closing. If any provision herein contained by its nature or effect is required to be observed, kept, or performed after closing, it will survive the closing. Okay. Home warranty, make sure that who orders it, if you don't want anything, put 0 in these. Okay. A lot of times they'll ask for a home warranty by the seller. Paid by who? The seller or the buyer? Okay,
So the buyer-
yeah.
the buyer typically.
This could be negotiated, yeah,
negotiated. But basically, it would be like the home, if I'm buying a house, I would want to have the home warranty. But the seller will sometimes offer it just to.
right,
nice
yeah,
very much.
yeah, yeah. Okay, fire or casualty injury, so, again, they would have that right to, if the fire occurs while it's under contract, the seller has the right, or seller has to, is responsible for repairing the damage. Or they could remit the amount of money for the repairs, or assign they can give the insurance money to the buyers. Okay. Again, here's the residential property disclosure. This is to check that you've received it and have gone over it. And buyer and seller agree that that seller will not complete or provide that statement, the residential property disclosure to them. So hopefully it's checked on the first one. A lot of times in the, well, of course, with the estate sale and new construction, it's not required, so you would check that. Of course, if it's before 1978, it's lead-based paint. And here's the sex offender criminal information, again, on this one. Trust account. This is to say that the earnest money can be deposited into a trust account. Okay.
So I think that was the question I was asking. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to say that. And in this case, it's giving them permission to. And usually you should give them permission because it usually is. The South Carolina income tax and adjustments are obviously, they're prorated. So everything's prorated on the closing statement. You do, the default is defaults in the performance of any seller's obligation. You have to deliver the notice of default to seller and terminate the contract and pursue any remedies available to the buyer at law. And recover any attorney's fees. Any questions on that? And if the buyer defaults, recover any, same thing. Okay. Mediation is the one where if there's a dispute in the earnest money or anything else, then or the title is wrong, then obviously this would have to be mediated. And that's where Sabre would get involved. I don't know what this I don't know what this one is.
Oh, they decided they agreed not to do it voluntarily.
Yeah.
Parties execute this contract freely and voluntarily without the client.
Yeah, yeah. They didn't have any,
They both agreed to walk away.
Yeah. yeah. Okay. Obviously, we don't give them any advice or guarantees that, oh no, that HVAC is good. That was just put in last year. That won't go bad.
Right.
Yeah, you can't say that. So. And the closing attorney would disperse the funds for our compensation. Attachments, it's other contingencies. If there's other forms in there that are attached, you would just say that here. Okay. And then it's just notice in delivery that you have delivered the contract. And the expiration, you can put that, some do, some don't. And within 30 calendar days, it will expire automatically. Okay. And then have them sign and date, your buyer, and the seller sign and date. Don't put their email or fax number or address on there. And here you want to put the buyer's agency company and the buyer's agent's name and email address. Okay. Again, and then the seller's company's name and the seller's email address. And both the seller and buyer must initial each page. Any questions on that?
House sale contingency work between the states.
It's the same, what do you mean? Like
So
if,
I have, right now, I have someone that wants to move from North Carolina to South Carolina.
Yeah.
I also have someone that wants to move from South Carolina to North Carolina.
okay,
And I don't know how that word, does it work the same?
same, it should be the same, yeah. You would just,
Fill out different forms.
well, different forms, yeah, of course, but,
Do you need a agency disclosure for both states?
Right.
Okay.
yes, yeah. Yeah, one's the buyer, one's the seller, obviously.
No, but she's
Right, but
trying to
if they're looking at both states, then I need two.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah. Yeah, and you'll have to just put two, both of them, then obviously the contract would just be the one state.
You just have to decide, for like, one is going from North Carolina, going to South Carolina, you need a South Carolina form. And if they're coming from North Carolina to South Carolina, if they come from South Carolina to North Carolina, then you have to fill out North Carolina form
But what I'm saying is when you're working with, say, I'm working with buyer, now I'm under a buyer contract.
already.
And they're looking at both places. They're looking at Indian Land and they're looking at Valentine.
And your contract is where,
So then my contract would have to be in both areas.
Yeah,
both states.
yeah.
Right.
so that, yeah, because around here, it's pretty, you definitely would need a buyer agency contract in whichever state you're, so you would need both.
Right.
Yeah, what she's saying, if
As
they,
you're working with.
yeah, so like right now,
Yes.
she's working with somebody and they're working already in North Carolina. And
Right.
they're starting to look in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Now you gotta say, well, I need you to fill out. a
Yeah,
form,
yeah,
Working with.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes,
Okay. And then with that point, we just, because a lot of them don't understand, so we have to explain to them.
yes,
So the only difference I feel like is the transactional brokerage, which we don't allow in the office. So it's
right,
it's the same
yeah,
thing,
exactly,
for Southwest.
right, right. All right, so,
But
This
wait,
is-
pause. So how would that work then? So like, how would she get paid if they decide to buy in South Carolina? There's no, they would just use a Keller Williams in South Carolina?
oh no, we,
We're licensed. there.
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah, it's the same, yeah,
Okay.
we can do that, she just
Okay.
has to have that contract.
Gotcha.
So this is basically the same thing, except for it's a condo, residential and condo. So there's really nothing too much different about it. And then, so you just pick the right one. This is form number 300.
For condos.
And then there's another one for
Land.
land.
Oh, is there?
So the only difference when it comes to land, because I'm glad you brought that up, is a form. It's not a license.
Right, right, yes. No special license required for land.
Okay.
So is a townhome considered a condo or just residential?
Residential. And the land one is form 330.
Okay. So townhome, what was your question? Is considered what?
Residential, not
Yeah.
condo, which
Yeah.
is different from us too.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, because certain places, like I'm a partner with Landis and they won't let the client buy a condo, but they can buy a townhouse. And I guess it's because the form of the way it's owned or something.
Well, yeah, because
Was it the
everything
seat?
owned from the ground up,
Right.
whereas in Massachusetts and everything that's in the building would be considered a condo, because it's all common space.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one is the bill of sale. We don't have this in North Carolina. This is just a South Carolina. So if they want that swing set in the backyard and I want the
Oh.
furniture and that, so this is what you'll use.
Okay.
Okay.
Bill of sale. So
Yeah.
anything else, yeah, they're very.
And then we don't have that in North Carolina.
Yeah, because if it's gonna convey over, it's just to say that in the notes.
Yeah,
It's gonna
yeah.
convey. Gotcha.
Yeah. Bill of sale.
And what form was that one?
That was Form 503.
Okay.
And then a compensation agreement. This is to be used like for sale by owner. Or, yeah, basically a for sale by owner. It's in North Carolina, we use the unrepresented seller. And that kind of covers us, but this is, you put the listing brokerage. So it's an agreement between either the listing brokerage, the seller, or the buyer. So whoever, if you want to change your compensation with the listing brokerage, you put their name here. If you want compensation from the seller, which is what, if you're the buyer and it's an unrepresented, if they're doing a FSBO, this is what you would put their name in here. You're in here, the seller's name. Okay. Or the buyer, if they say, well, they're not giving me any compensation, so I want the compensation from you, the buyer. Put their name in here. And it says agrees to compensate the brokerage company, Keller Williams Valentine. Yep. Not you. You're paying the firm. Okay. For the purpose of buying or whatever, leasing, renting. Regarding, then you put the address in there and as much as you can, fill out the legal description. This compensation agreement begins on whatever date you put the offer in. And then ends hopefully at closing.
Do they have a 7-day window in there as well? for closing?
Oh gosh, that's a good, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Okay, and does not create, this doesn't create any agent relationship and expires if no termination stated herein. It expires 5 years after the effective date. That hopefully that won't come into play. This agreement pertains to all listings, properties of whoever, or any home constructed by the builder. So if you have a builder that you're working with, and you're selling all their homes, you can use it for that. I don't see that very often. If this is not applicable, put NA in there, please. And then this is the compensation amount. Usually it's a percentage, or you can put a dollar, a standard or strict dollar amount.
See that with these builders?
Yes. Ryan
So
Holmes.
pretty much like if it's a for sale by owner and I bring the buyer,
Mhm.
this is what this is for.
Basically,
Okay.
yes, yeah. But make sure you fill out how much compensation you want
Gotcha.
and then what other, it's usually NA. Okay. And then have your buyer sign and the seller sign. I don't know why they don't mark that. And you sign it as the agent, yeah. So anybody involved with this should sign it,
Mhm.
okay? Any questions on that?
No order, signatures.
No particular order, yeah.
So anybody involved in the transaction?
Yeah. All right, North Carolina, we check it in the agreement, the buyer agency agreement. Here we have it in the, we have to have a separate form. If you're working with it as a designated agency and dual agency, I have both of them in here. Make sure you just fill this out. The designated agency agreement is entered between buyer and real estate company and the seller and the real estate company. Okay, so it should be Keller Williams Valentine, both of these. And then the buyer's name and the seller's name. To the property located, then you put the property address there. Okay, so this is just explaining agency again. So this is the representation. This is the important one. The associated license supervisory broker is, you would put Sabra Romeo. Yep. And this is designated agents. So the licensee designated to represent the seller is whoever the listing agent is. And the licensee designated to represent the buyer is whoever, whatever.
Do you see this in the listing packet? You know, in North Carolina, we sort of already have that.
Not all the time in the listing packet, simply because you don't know who's gonna buy the house, okay, or the
Sort of like
buyer's.
that, giving permission beforehand.
Yeah. They're giving the permission in the buyer agency agreement with those little check or the initials by those 4 statements, remember?
Right.
And this just is just, that's given a big blanket permission. This is specifying who's representing who. Okay, and then the seller and buyer, and then the agent needs to sign. Okay. The name of real estate company and the agent. Okay. So basically, if there's 2 agents in this office, one representing the listing, one representing the buyer. So that's what that's
Yeah, designated, yeah.
designated. And then a dual agency agreement is, again, gotta say the same thing here. But at the bottom, then it's just one, bless you, one seller, one agent representing both the buyer and seller, okay? So the buyer it's all one company, obviously. Same
One
thing.
company, but it's just weird because all things go to the brokerage, so you don't have to put both names, like say like if she's gonna be an agent, I'm gonna be an agent.
Then it would be
You
designated.
gotta be designated. Gotcha.
So dual agency is just you representing
Gotcha,
both.
so I'm representing, okay.
Yeah.
Got it, makes sense.
Yep. And then make sure that they sign, the sellers and buyers and you. Okay. Okay, where are we? Designated dual FHA. Obviously, if it's an FHA addendum, you want to fill that out. Make sure everything is filled out. Again, the property address and the legal description of some kind in there. And then what the FHA clause, what the amount, you would find that on their letter from FHA. Okay, and then it's if it's a new home, put the completed date. So that's a simple form. Buyers and sellers sign it. You don't need to sign that. Okay. Lead-based paint. So if the home is built obviously before 1978, you should have this. If the seller did not give it to you, then you ask for it. So the sellers need to initial here and check the appropriate box, but you as the buyer and the buyer agents need to initial both C or all of them, C, D, and E. Okay? And then you have to check one of these. One of these is received the 10-day opportunity to do a risk assessment, and the other one is you waive that opportunity. Okay? So they have to have that. All right, and then this is the seller's agent. You sign, this is kind of weird how they have this, how they have them signed. So I guess seller and the seller, agent and agent, and then the buyers and buyers. So, you know, 2 agents need to sign it, 2 buy, or at least 1 buyer and at least 1 seller, okay?
Why? Is that still dual agent, that's why? I mean, why?
No, this is the lead-based payment.
Right, but why is this 2 agents need to sell? Is it
Well,
supposed
the
to be like
listing
every time?
agent, yeah,
Oh,
listing agent
gotcha.
and the-
Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
I get it.
listing agent and buyer's agent need to sign,
Okay, I was confused.
along with the seller and the buyer.
Right, okay, yeah, I was just like, wait a minute. what?
I know, right? Yeah. I am not really familiar with the multiple buyers disclosure, but I think you have to, if you've gotten multiple offers on a property,
Yeah, so you have to disclose it.
yeah, I think so.
Wow, yeah, they said, yeah, it's not gonna be mandatory, I heard that.
Yeah,
And that makes sense though, because it is like it's people's money on the line, you know?
yeah. And then multiple offer, higher and best, you have to tell them that, oh, you know,
That's what it was. So there, we don't have to do this here, I
No.
don't think, right?
in North Carolina.
Right, so like if they don't have if we get a rejection, we don't have to fill out a separate form to say we got a rejected form, we got a rejected offer. We don't have to send that to them. But there, they have to, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I
We
was
get,
like,
yeah, so the seller does. Yeah. So,
It's like an extra step, like,
Yeah.
obviously, if I didn't call you and tell you, you already know.
so this is what you'll get if the invites buyer to submit a new offer containing new terms, and here's the terms that they would get. So this is something that you would get. And then, I don't know why this is in the buyer's thing, but this is all for sellers.
Oh, yeah, for sellers. So yeah, the sellers have to send them a rejected
Right.
offer if they're
Yeah.
not gonna counter.
So this is,
No, if they don't decide to counter offer, if they counter offer, they don't have to send it. But if they don't counter offer, they have to send it, right? I think that's what I studied. I don't know.
wait a minute, because we're going down here. I think it's here, rejection. So you can do a rejection form if they don't check,
If you don't accept.
yeah, if you don't accept it.
They're rejecting your original offer, but they're offering a counter offer.
Right.
Yeah, this is a, without their counter offer.
Without the counter offer, right? Rejection form.
The offer has been rejected without a counter offer.
And that must be sent.
Yes. So you, as the buyer, should receive it.
Right. Rejection form. Was there a form number for that?
That was 314. Here's the repair addendum that you can present to them. So after your inspections, you give these to the buyers within that time period that you specified on the offer to purchase. Hi,
Yeah.
we're almost done.
Get what you can.
Oh, so anyway, just fill that out. And a lot of times, I will take the inspection report and whatever my client and I decide, we'll put, if it's 1A needs, it was referencing the windows that are unsealed or something. Then I would put 1A, windows not sealed, then seller to repair all cracked windows. Okay, and then I always attach the copy of the report. You don't have to. I think you have to get permission from the buyer to send the report, because they paid for it. They don't have to share it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay. And then they sign it, and then wait for the seller to say, okay, I'll do all the repairs or negotiate a counter offer. Okay? It's pretty self-explanatory. This is what you should get, the property disclosures. Before you even look at a house, you can usually find those in the MLS. Okay, it should have the property address, and all this stuff should be filled out. Make sure it's filled out, otherwise you have to question the seller. You call the listing agent and say, why wasn't this form filled out properly? Or,
So you have to get that before you go show them property.
yeah, you should get a copy of it, or, maybe right after they say, oh, yeah, I really like this property. Okay, let's look at the disclosures and see.
A lot of times with open door, you'll see it not filled out, 'cause they have no idea, they just want it.
And it's all no representation, yeah. And it's kind of a red flag. It's like, well, why aren't they saying anything about it? So it's best if it's filled out and they're supposed to fill it out to the best of their knowledge, so, and be honest about it. So you just make sure that the majority or all of it's filled out. Obviously, if it doesn't have an HOA, then this stuff won't be filled out, so. And then it should say, if yes, owner must complete the attached residential property disclosure addendum, but that's really supposed to be included in all of them now. And I'll make sure that it should be added, but if it doesn't have an HOA and it says no, I'm okay with that. Sabra, it's actually part of the it's actually part of the document now. Even though it's separate, it's not. Okay, so you make sure your buyer initials each page, and then they sign and date on page 5, and then you've got the addendum. And again, this should all be filled out by the seller, and make sure they sign and date on the bottom of the page. Yes.
So let's say that they haven't exactly agreed to list with you yet, can you still provide them with these forms? Just for like inform them about it?
Yeah,
Is there, like-
you can, but you can tell them about it. I wouldn't give them the forms.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, just as a way to like sort of.
yeah,
Show them.
yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah, I would show it to them and say, if you want to sell it if they're going with FSBO and that, well, I always ask, did you fill out the residential property disclosures? And all that. Then they say, well, what are you talking about? It's like, oh no, this is illegal. You need to fill this out.
And even if they're doing sell by owner, they still have to do the disclosure form.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's supposed to
definitely.
be on every offer.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would, if they haven't signed anything with you, I wouldn't give them anything. That's,
That part.
but you can, yeah, you can definitely tell them about it. All right, now in South Carolina, this form is not found in zip forms. And it should be in DocuSign, but a lot of times it's not. But this form is basically, see how it says our logo up here? Because if it's an office form, it's something that Sabre wants. It's the same thing as a North Carolina property disclosures, or not property disclosure, professional services disclosure. And what you want them to do is you can give them a couple names of each of these services if they want, especially with home inspection. You have to give them at least 2 names. And then they can say, Yeah, yes or no, or they can pick their own, basically, for all of the services.
Oh, it's pretty much like our preferred vendors, just letting them know.
Yeah, yeah, but you want to give them more than one. You can't give them just one and say, this is who you're going to use.
Oh, just, oh, okay. I
Because you
see.
can't, you have to give them a choice, yes.
Okay. So we must provide that.
Yeah.
Okay. Must provide. And you said it's where, is it on KW Resources?
KWB Resources, does everybody know how to get to the forums there? Okay, good. And so this would be in the South Carolina side. And it says purchaser to initial the choice. Don't check it. So they have to initial. Okay, the appraisal, I'll waive that. A lot of times it'll be waived. And then who orders? Well, that would be the lender that orders. Okay. And then the attorney, well, they should select it, title, exam, and closing. And then you can say that you, as the buyer's agent, would order it or set up the time, basically. Okay. So with all of these, if they're, so they should either put their initials in the waived column, saying they don't want it, or the selected column. Obviously with septic, if it's not on a septic or sewer, then they shouldn't, they can waive it. Okay, and then on page 2, they would sign and date, and you sign and date. Okay? All right, and now these are kind of new forms. Well, let me go to this one first. This is the septic and sewer form. Septic or sewer and water. This is a form that Sabra has recently updated. So make sure you go into KWB Resources and get this one, okay? Because you want to verify the water and the sewer. Make sure you put the property address up here. And then even though the listing agent and the sellers have told you it's on septic, you want to get verification of that. You have to verify it yourself. So you call the water company, you call the city, you can do well, you can't do 311 in South Carolina. So you would call like York County or Lancaster County or wherever you are, call that city or county. Ask them if that property is serviced under them. You know, if they are, get the name of the person, the date that you called, the name of the person, and what company did you call? Okay. This is if the city, like if it's a community water and sewer, this is for HOAs. If a lot of times HOAs will pay the water and sewer. So please verify it and make sure you put the name and the utility provider, whether it's the HOA or whatever, okay? And if it has a septic system, okay. So if they say no, none of these are on, they're not connected to water or the community, then they're probably on septic. So make sure you read all these, because if you initial here, agent affirms that a copy of the septic permit is attached, then we want it attached. Okay, so you have to show and tell them how many bedrooms it's for. Okay, so this one says that you've requested a copy and you called whatever county that the property's in. Again, this is provided by the seller or you obtained it, then the copy's attached, and or that a copy is not available, who you talked to and in what county or what department you called. Okay. So you as the agent have to sign. You're going to be the buyer's agent. If you're the buyer's agent, then the buyer should sign. And because you've explained it to them. If you're the listing agent, only you have to sign it. Okay. But get your buyers to sign it.
They sign.
We don't have Title V here, right?
What's Title V?
Oh, okay. The inspection, like it has to pass this inspection in order for. it to
Ah,
be-
no, we don't have that. Yeah. Okay, these are the newest forms. Affiliated business. We just recently came into a relationship with Heritage Title, a title insurance company. You've probably heard of them in the team meetings and that. So this, you have to tell them about this. You have to disclose to your buyers this information. And all they have, you just have to put down what the property address that they're buying and your buyers' names. Explain this to them. You don't have to go into big detail. Just say that we have a relationship with them and we have to disclose this to you. Doesn't mean they have to choose that.
Oh,
Okay. So you they're just saying that they've you told them about it and that they may receive, we may receive financial or other benefit as a result.
I needed to know that answer because I have issues. And they're in office? Are they in our office or they're not in our office though, right? This company?
Yeah, they are in our office.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that. What's the name?
Heritage.
Yeah, Heritage. that's
Heritage
right. That's
Title
what it
or,
is. Okay.
yeah.
I just had a
So
thought.
then they sign and the date. Simple.
And that has to be, that's just for South Carolina, though,
This,
right?
no, this is both. This is all, everybody. This is all buyers, North
All
and South
buyers.
Carolina.
Oh, I didn't know that. So when we have a buyer, regardless if it's North Carolina or South Carolina, she wants us to do this thing.
Yep.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yep.
So what's the name of that form?
It's affiliated business disclosure.
Now, do we send this over to them, the DocuSign as well?
You can.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's on those forms.
I don't know if it's on the DocuSign forums or not. It might be. If not, it's in KWB resources.
Well, Carolyn, this was meant for me to take your class. I got something out of it.
Gee, it only took an hour and a half.
Right.
Stop. And then this other one is, again, that's the title insurance selection form. Again, they received the copy of this notice due to the RESPA Act. And it's the Valentine has an interest in Heritage Title. And then they have a choice, choose one. They can choose it to do Heritage Title, or they request that their title insurance business be referred to whoever. And I usually see this one. I would like my closing agent. I don't know why that's there.
We see that a lot. That far.
Yeah. Yeah, because then usually the closing attorney will,
Oh.
will have the title company.
What if they just get nervous? Like too many, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, wait, you're affiliated with them and you might get cut or something.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They get scared off.
I know, yeah, so. But you have to give them that choice because of the
When
rest.
do you have to give that to them?
You give that to them, pretty much with all of your,
Working with the-
yeah, when you give all your documents,
Okay.
yeah. Or at least before closing.
Yeah, 'cause I didn't even know how to do that.
And then obviously have them sign and date.
So it's just one form though, right? That they need to add. Or is it two?
What do you mean?
That we need to add to their paperwork. The affiliated title.
And the affiliated business disclosure and this title selection form.
Oh, okay.
I went over a lot.
Yeah.
I'm
trying
so-
to follow.
Ah,
Are these on the checklist? The checklist that you have for the
yeah,
buyer and sellers?
Yeah, so if you go into my agent, is it agent? No, it's not. It's agent.
Ah, that was a lot.
That's a lot of, yeah, and that's just one part of them. So if you go into your, I'll just go into one of these here. It's been so slow lately. Okay, so if I go into here, so if you go into the under contract, see the required documents here? All those are required. So those are the ones that you need to use. And I think at the very bottom here, let's see if I can move this. Yeah, at the very bottom, you can see affiliated business disclosure and the title insurance election form, and they're marked as required.
We would much rather have it before we're almost done because then they'll be looking at us like we're caca.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah. So all the, yeah, it shows that it's required.
Okay, I guess I was asking, is I recently saw on the KWB resources, a checklist for seller documents and buyer
Oh.
documents, and I don't remember if I saw that there or not.
Probably did not, because they're recent. Yeah, I'm sure. You're looking at the checklist here?
Yes,
Yeah. Which one are you looking at?
oh, either, I was looking at the, well, I've looked at both the North Carolina listing and the North Carolina buyer.
Okay. Let's do North Carolina buyer. Yeah, you're right. She should, this should be updated. Ah,
I mean, it's handy, but if it's wrong.
well, oh no, it is updated.
Okay,
Right here.
perfect.
See it in the KW
Yep.
Valentine
Okay.
Title Insurance and the affiliated business. Cool.
Okay, so before closing, okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that, yeah, those are in there. We're more ahead of ourselves than we think.
How much longer we got?
We're done.
Oh.
Does anybody have any question, any other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My dog really enjoyed it too, just so you know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted. All right. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you. This is very informational. I'm glad I had a chance to come. No, I think she just finished up.
Yeah. Do you need to, do you need any, do you have any questions?
I didn't miss anything, right?
No.
I just.
She wanted to find out if the new checklists or the checklists in the KWB resources have the new title insurance and the, and they do.
With Cindy and I, Katie has that covered.
Yeah.
You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
So that's why she doesn't know.
Right.